And I also had,
You got something in your arm.
yeah, shot,
Okay.
and it hurted. And they had to take a shot on my leg.
And did it hurt?
No.
Because that's your superpower.
Uh-huh.
That's right. You can get shots and you're like, give me 5. Give me 20. My kids are like the greatest blessing in my life. They all have taught me so much about what love really is and what we are supposed to do in this world.
I got it, but I can do some tricks.
I can't imagine my life not having walked this. My kids are just such a gift. Such a gift. My husband and I have 7 children. 5 of our children are adopted. My oldest is in college. My next child is in high school. I have 1 in junior high, and then the rest are in elementary school. And so we kind of have the gamut of dealing with different issues across the lifespan right now. Best day ever. That's good.
And then me and Mrs. West find it.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Did you like the dinosaur meeting the bus today? A child coming into your home is living out of what we call survival brain, or the bottom of the brain, because they have had a lot of trauma. Just being removed from the only home they've ever known, whether it's a home that's not safe or not, that's what they've known as being safe and secure to them. And so coming into my home is honestly sheer terror, right? They've been stripped from everything that they know to be secure and safe. We basically are making everything like Groundhog Day. It is, oh, this is the time we go to bed. This is what bedtime routine looks like. This is what we do in the morning. There's always snack at this time. Meals are always this time. And it is basically cocooning and creating an atmosphere for a child that is absolutely calm and the same until we build relationship. I know, that's so crazy. We all have an internal monologue or an internal voice that is telling us something. And so children who have grown up in a family or grown up with a lot of relationships that are supporting them, their internal voice tells them, you are worthy, you are safe, you are loved. When we have children who grow up without relationships, or what we call in relational poverty, then what we see is an internal voice that says, you are not worthy, you are stupid, you are not loved. And what that ends up turning into is like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And so whenever they see bad happening to them, of course it's bad. I'm not worthy. No one loves me. I'm stupid anyway. And so that ends up turning into what we see in even our juvenile system or our adult criminal system. 80% of our prison population are former foster youth. And that should be staggering to us.
My mom adopted me when I was little.
I wanted the parents to stop. I wanted them to stop and just, I was like, why the drugs? Why? Raise your kid, choose your child. You know, I had spent hours walking the floor with infants that were detoxing. I had spent days with kids just brokenhearted crying for their moms and dads. And I went into the jail to teach this class to inmates on parenting, and I really went in with the thought that I was going to convince them and teach them a better way. The very first woman that I sat across from, we're knee to knee and we're talking, and you know, she's in her orange jumpsuit and her belly is 8 months pregnant, you know, and she's got tattoos all over and she looks old. Her body is just, and her face is just worn. And I looked at her and I just said, I'm trying to like have conversation. And I said, wow, that's a nice tattoo. You know, what's that tattoo for? And she goes, oh, that's my mom's name. And that's the day I killed my mother. And I'm like, wow, tell me more about that. And so she starts to talk about, as a child, being in the system, in the foster system, and how she ended up adopted. But at one point, her mother came back into her life. So here's this 13-year-old girl, and she wants nothing more than to know her mother and have a relationship and have an internal voice telling her, you are loved and worthy, and you are not just abandoned by your mother. I love you, join me. And so she did. She started using with her mom, because what child at 13 is gonna tell their mom no? And then you fast forward through years of substance use and DCS involvement, because she had her own babies that were removed and adopted out. And it culminated in her mind to the event where she had gone and scored a batch of meth and drove it back to her mom's apartment, and then went out again because she was going to get some food for them. And when she came back, her mom was dead, laying on the floor. And she had died from a bad batch of meth. And she said, I killed my mother that day. And I remember thinking, like, what was her choice? So every inmate I worked with, their stories mirrored this woman's, men and women, and it became this, why the pain? Because they had started drug use early to medicate this internal pain with external methods. And all those behaviors that we want to call criminal, or we want to call bad, or we want to punish, are methods they're using to medicate absolute brokenness and abandonment. We have lines and statistics that we spout out all the time about these kids. But what we don't recognize is that these are our statistics, our lines, our children in this community. It is our job to step in and walk beside these kids when they're in broken spaces. And that's why we have CASAs, and that's why we have teachers, and that's why we have foster parents and adoptive parents and community members to walk beside these kids. Because if we don't step in with relationship, then what we end up is we have a mom in prison pregnant with her 5th child who will not be getting out for 15 years because she didn't have a relationship that was building into her, you are worthy, you are loved, and you are seen. And it is our job to see these kids.